نحمد ونصلي على رسول الكريم عما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما اللهم فقهنا في الدين آمين. I would like to welcome you all to our module 4 and alhamdulillah that you have completed modules 1, 2 and 3. So today will be, you can say, a practical application of all the 3 modules we have done so far. So we're going to look at letter recognition, the Arabic letter recognition. We're going to look at the fatha, the sound, how it sounds like. We're going to look at the tanween as well. And we're going to learn how to read all of them together. So if they come, one or the other on the letters, how would they sound like? So first, what we're going to inshallah do is we're going to look at our Arabic letters. We're going to do a bit of review. And what we're going to do inshallah is we're going to look at how these letters look like when they have they are coming in partial way, like how it looks like when it is coming partially. So these Arabic letters don't always show up in this form. So for example, if you think about just like even in the English alphabet, we have 2 ways of writing letters. Either it is a capital way or we see the lowercase. In the case of the Arabic letters, depending on where it is, if it's coming first, if it's coming in the middle of a word, if it's coming at the end of the word, we see that the shape changes according to that. So for example, in the letter Ya, it can come in this form, it can come in a small little form as well. And the key identifying feature of the letter Ya is the 2 dots at the bottom. Okay, for the letter Ya, if you ever see 2 dots at the bottom, you know that's the letter Ya. Okay, and in the case of the next letter Mim, we will see that the defining feature is its head. Okay, anytime you see this head of the letter Mim, you will recognize that as the letter Mim. Next, in the letter Kaf can look like very different according to where it is. Sometimes you will see it in this form, sometimes you will see it in a completely different form, and inshallah we'll see some of that today. Okay, and sometimes you will just see like this, that little symbol, but a lot bigger in the letter. For the letter Qaf, the defining feature is its head. Okay, this little loop that you will see, and the 2 dots on the top. Okay, 2 dots on the top. Also for the letter Ha also takes up different shapes, and inshallah through experience you'll be able to tell the letter Ha as well, because the letter Ha also can come like a little loop circular shape like this as well. So that is the letter Ha. Then we have the letter Ghain. Now for the letter Ghain, the defining feature for the letter Ghain is its head. It also takes up another shape, and we will also look at that. So for the letter Ghain, you want to look at the head of the letter Ghain, and it has 1 dot on the top. A letter Waw will always come like this, even if it's attached to other letters. So letter Waw is easy to identify. Letter Ain, just like the letter Ghain, will have the same defining feature, which is its head. Hamza will always come as a Hamza like this. It doesn't really change any shape. It does sometimes appear on top of other letters, and we'll see that as well. So we'll see that the letter Noon usually comes with this little bit part of it along with its dot. So we might not see the whole shape of the letter Noon, but we will see part of it with the defining feature being the 1 dot on the top and this little, you can say, stem coming out. Okay, wonderful. Now let's inshallah look at the next letter. Next letter is the letter Sheen, and for the letter Sheen, the defining feature for this letter is this. So the 2 bumps and 3 dots on the top. Okay, so anytime you see 2 bumps going like one and like 2 teeth, you can say, then we have 3 dots on the top. You will recognize that as the letter Sheen. And for the letter Sa'd, the defining feature is again its head. Okay, so anytime you see this eye shape without any dots, it's the letter Sa'd. Okay, and in the case of the letter Dad, it's the same thing. as letter Sad. But again, to differentiate, you will see that there is one dot on the top for the letter Dad. Now the letter Ta is actually very easy to identify. It will always have this shape. It will always have a back. It will always have this eye shape. So if you notice from the letter Sad, Dad, and Ta, if you want to differentiate it from Sad and the letter Ta, Ta will have a back. Okay, so even though the eye shape is the same, it has a back, and it will always look like this. It will always maintain its shape. The letter Ra is also easy to identify. It will always look like this, even if it's attached to another letter. And the letter Dha is also going to maintain its shape. Doesn't matter if it's coming in the front, in the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of a word. The differentiating factor for the letter Dha from the letter Ta is its dot. Okay. Then we have the letter Lam. The letter Lam is the one that is that will also appear like this, but it will also appear without its tail. Okay, I like to use the word tail just to make it more clear. And you will just see a stick. Okay, you will just see a stick, kind of like an alif. But the important thing about Lam is that Lam can connect to both sides. Okay, so it can connect to a letter coming before it. It can connect to the letter coming after it. And we'll see some examples of that today. Okay. Next, we have the letter Sin. Just like the letter Sheen, the defining feature is the two bumps or the two teeth, right, that you can see. So anytime you see this, if it doesn't come in this form, the full form, you will always see it having two bumps, and that is the letter Sin. Letter Zai will usually just come like that as you see it, so not very difficult to identify. The differentiating factor for Zai is its dot. Ra does not have a dot. Zai does have a dot. The letter Fa, the defining feature is its head. The letter Fa will have a loop with one dot on the top. Okay, with one dot on the top. So it has this circular shape to it and then one dot on the top. So if you don't see it in its full form, you will have to recognize the letter Fa from its defining feature, which is its head. Okay, so remember, even for human beings, we have our defining feature is our face. So think about these letters as their faces. That, you know, if you were to just see their face, you will be able to recognize these letters. Okay, letter Dal is very easy to recognize. It will always come like this, even if it's attached to another letter. Letter Dal, same as Dal, same. You can identify it. The only differentiating factor for letter Dal is its dot. So we know that Dal and Dal are different. Next, the letter Ha. The letter Ha, the defining feature is its head, the letter Ha. So anytime you see this on the top, you will know that's the letter Ha, and it has no dots. Why is it important to say that? Because if you look at the letter Jim, the defining feature is also its head, but it will have one dot at the bottom. Okay, so if it's not coming in its full form, then the dot will be at the bottom. Okay, because it will not have this tail end here. Next, we have the letter Kha, and letter Kha, the defining feature is its head, okay, with the dot coming on top here. Okay, then we have the letter Alif. Now the letter Alif is pretty easy to identify. The letter Alif will only ever connect to the right side. Okay, so if you see it ever connecting to a letter on the left side, then that is your letter Lam. Okay, letter Lam will connect to both sides, but Alif is picky. Alif will only connect to a letter on the right side, or it will come on its own, standing alone. Then we have the letter Tha, and letter Tha, the defining feature is over here. Okay, just the stem right in the beginning and 3 dots on the top. Okay, and there's another letter that has 3 dots on the top, which is the letter Sheen. But if you remember, for the letter Sheen, the defining feature was its 2 tooth, right? 2 tooth, like, you know, the teeth, the 2 bumps. But for the letter Tha, it will only have 1 stem. Okay, so that's its defining feature, that the letter Tha, you will only see the stem, okay, and the 3 dots on top. The letter Ba is very similar to the letter Tha, where we will only see the stem of it and then one dot at the bottom. Okay, if it's not coming in its full shape, full form, then it will come like this. So you will just see that little stem and then one dot at the bottom. Same goes for the letter ta, that you will only see the stem, okay, that little stem there, and two dots on the top for the letter ta. And lastly, dal, we already spoke about this, just repeating here again. It will come on its own and you will usually see it in this form. There's no other way of looking at letter dal, even if it's connected to another letter. Okay, barakallah fikum. Now, inshallah, we're going to look at our first example. Okay, we're going to look at our first example of reading it all together. Now, there's two ways we're going to read this word. Okay, one is going to be reading each letter together, like, one after the other. And then we're also going to learn how to stop on this word. Okay, so as you know, like at the end of the ayat, or maybe when we want to stop on this word, like we're reading a sentence and we want to stop, there are certain rules that go along with stopping on the words. Okay, so there will be two ways of reading. One will be reading it all with the harakat that you see here, their marks, and then one will be how do we read it if I need to stop on this word. Okay, so we're going to read it both ways, inshallah. So now you see there's three letters here. There's a hamza and it's sitting on the letter alif. Okay, sitting on the letter alif. So if you were to look at it, which letter is it? Is it alif or is it hamza? Now hamza is using the letter alif as a chair. So we are going to say this is the letter hamza sitting on an alif. So we're going to identify this as the letter hamza, hamza with a fatha. Then we have the letter ha, ha with a fatha. Now you might think, well, is this the letter ha? So this is the letter ha, and I'll show you inshallah why this is the letter ha. And then we have the letter ha with a fatha and dal with a dhammatain. Okay, dal with a dhammatain. So let's look at the letter ha. Now if you remember, I said that the letter ha can come in another form, which is just showing its head. So here the letter ha, we don't see the tail of the letter ha, we are just looking at the head of the letter ha. So whenever the letter ha is connected to another letter, it will look like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and read this together. So hamza with a fatha, a. So a, ha, dun, ahadun. Now when we are stopping on this word, what will happen? Now remember, whenever we're stopping, we're only interested in the last letter. Okay, the last letter. Now what happens to the last letter is that anything that's on top of it goes away. Okay, it goes away. So we cannot say dun. Okay, we have to stop on the letter by saying, okay, well, what will happen to the letter dal when the dhammatain is gone? Okay, what will happen to it? So we're going to get a, so we have to say that when we're stopping, there's no longer going to be a dhammatain on the dal, and we will get a sukoon, okay, because it has to go away. Dhammatain has to go away, and then when we're stopping, you're going to say ahad. Okay, so why ahad? Because when we're stopping, we cannot read the dhammatain, and if there's no dhammatain, then we're going to put a sukoon, a circle, to indicate that there's nothing here. Okay, ahad. So if I was to continue, I would say ahadun. If I'm stopping, ahad. Okay, I will connect the ha with the dal. Okay, so I hope that is clear for everybody. Okay, now please repeat after me. A, ha, dun, ahadun. Now please repeat after me. Ahad. Good. So when we're continuing, we will say ahadun. And when we're stopping, ahad. Now let's go ahead and look at our next word. Now here we have the letter ha, seen, and dal, right? With all three having fathas. So when we're reading this, you'll see this is the letter ha. Ha, why? Because we only see the head of the ha, and you can see there the tail is not here because we're connecting it to the next letter. And the next letter is the letter sin. And here we don't see the sin in the full form, we just see the two bumps, just the head, because it's connecting to the previous letter and the letter ahead, which is the letter dal. So all together, when we're reading this, we will say ha, sa, da. Hasada. Okay, now I want you to try saying it with after me. Ha, sa, da. Hasada. Okay, very well done. Now we're going to see what happens when we want to stop on this word. Okay, and as you recall, we said that when we're stopping, we're only interested in the last letter. And when we're trying to stop here, the fatha has to go away. Okay, we cannot read the fatha any longer. And when the fatha goes away, then we will put a sukoon here to indicate that there's nothing there on the dal. So when you're stopping, you will say hasad. So we're going to connect the sin with the fatha, sa, to the dal with the sukoon. So you will say hasad. So please repeat after me. Hasad. So when you're continuing, you will say ha, sa, da. Stopping, hasad. Notice I'm doing a bit of bounce on the last letter, dal. And that's something special about the letter dal when it gets a sukoon. Okay, alhamdulillah. So now let's go ahead to our next word. Now here again, Hamza is sitting on top of the alif with a fatha, a. Ba here has a fatha, ba. Dal here has a fathatain, two fathas, dan. And notice that this ba is coming in a short form. So it's not coming in its full form. So we have the stem, and then we have one dot at the bottom. So then we know that is the letter ba. A, ba, dan, abadan. Now, please repeat after me. A, ba, dan, abadan. Now, how do we stop on this word? Now, this word, whenever we have normally, whenever we're looking at the last letter, remember, alif will always come with the two fathas, okay? But if we're stopping on this word, this has a special stop, okay? This is the only letter that does not, it will not take a sukoon, okay? We cannot say, okay, everything has to go away. Instead, this fathatain considers itself very special, that I have to stop in a special way, okay? And how will it stop? It will stop with stretching 2 counts, okay? So the noon sound will go away, and we will just take the a sound and we'll stretch it like da. We'll say da, abada, okay? So what happened? Instead of getting a sukoon, where we're not reading anything on the dal, instead fathatain says that I'm very special. So I will stretch here 2 counts. Abada. Okay? And notice it is different from a, ba, and then I will add the stretch. Da. Please repeat after me. Abada. Okay? So if I'm continuing, I would say a, ba, dan. And if I'm stopping, I will say abada. Okay, barakallah feekum, very good. Now let's go to our next example. Here we have Hamza sitting on an alif with a fatha, a. Kha with a fatha, kha. And notice this is its head only. We only see the head of the letter kha here. And then we have dal with a fatha. The. A, kha, the. أخذ أخذ. Please repeat after me. أخذ أخذ. Now, if I'm trying to stop on this word, what will happen? We're again interested only in the last letter, and when we're trying to stop, the fatha will go away. Okay, there will be nothing on the letter dal. Okay, so what will happen on the letter dal? We are going to get a sukoon. Okay, so what will happen? We have to connect the kha to the akhadh. Akhadh. And remember that the tip of our tongue will come touching the edges of our upper two teeth. Akhadh. Now please repeat after me. أخذ. Okay, excellent. So now when we are continuing, you would say أخذ. Stopping. أخذ. Okay, very well done, alhamdulillah. Now let's look at this one here. We have kha with a fatha, only the head of the letter kha. Then we have sheen with a kasra. Okay, and here we only see the head of the letter sheen. So 2 bumps with 3 dots on the top. Okay, so this is its defining feature. And then last, so it'll be she. And then ya with a fatha, ya. All together, kha, she, ya. Khashiya. And when we are continuing again, it will be khashiya. And now I would like you to repeat after me. Kha, shi, ya. Khashiya. Okay, excellent. Now when we are stopping on this word, again, what will happen to the fatha? It will go away. Okay, it will go away and we will get a sukoon to indicate that there's nothing on the letter ya if I'm stopping on this word. Now what happens is that if there's a letter ya and before that there is a kasra coming on the letter before it, this ya with the sukoon will pull this kasra. Okay, it will pull it to 2 counts. So now instead of saying khashi, now because there's a ya with a sukoon coming after, I will say khashi. 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 Please repeat after me. Khashi. Okay, alhamdulillah. So if I'm continuing, I will say khashi ya. Stopping. Khashi. Okay, very well done. Now let's look at our next example. Next example is kha with a fatha. We are only seeing the head of the letter kha. Then we have lam with a fatha. So again, this is coming in its short form. And you can see the lam is connecting to both sides, the first letter and the third letter. Okay? And it will be la. Then we have qaf with a fatha. Qa. And here you can see qaf in its full form. Kha, la, qa. Khalaqa. Now please repeat after me. Kha, la, qa. Khalaqa. Okay, well done, alhamdulillah. Now what do we do when we're stopping? Again, we're only interested in our last letter, which is the letter qaf with a fatha. Now what's going to happen to the fatha? The fatha goes away, okay? And then we get a sukoon in its place, okay? So what will happen? I'm going to connect the lam with the fatha to the qaf with a sukoon. So I will say khalaq. Khalaq. خلق. And you can probably notice there's a bounce that's happening there at the end in my sound. خلق. Now, I would like you to repeat after me. خلق. Okay, well done. Now, how do we read it when we're continuing? خلق. Stopping. خلق. Okay, well done. Alhamdulillah. Now let's go to our next example. Now, next one has all the same letters, but the harakat are different. Kha with the dhamma, khu, lam with the kasra, li, qaf with the fatha, qa, khuliqa, khu, li, qa, khuliqa. Now please repeat after me. Khu, li, qa, khuliqa. Now when we are stopping, what will happen to the fatha on the letter qaf? As you know, we are only interested in the last letter of the word. Yes, the fatha will go away and we will get a sukoon. And when you are stopping here, you will say khuliqu. 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 Please repeat after me. Khuliqu. Okay, well done, alhamdulillah. Now, when you are continuing, you will say khuliqa. And when you are stopping, khuliqu. Very good, alhamdulillah. Now, let's look at the next word. The next word, we have a ba with a fatha, where we are only seeing the stem and the dot at the bottom. Ba. Kha with a kasra, where we are only seeing the head of the letter kha. Khi. And then we have letter lam with a fatha, la, in its full form. All together, ba, khi, la, bakhila, bakhila, bakhila. Please repeat after me. Ba, khi, la, bakhila. And stopping, let's look at the stopping. We're again interested only in the last letter when we're stopping, and the fatha, it will go away, right? And then we'll get a sukoon in its place. We have to connect the kha with the kasra to the lam with the sukoon. So you will say bakhil, bakhil. Please repeat after me. Bakhil. So when you are continuing, you will say bakhila. And then when you're stopping, bakhil. Okay, very well done, alhamdulillah. Now let's go to our next word. Next word is ba with the fatha. And you will see ba here is coming in its short form, where we have only the stem and one dot at the bottom. So the sound will be ba. Then we have the letter ra with the fatha, ra. And then we have another ra with the fatha, ra. Then we have a ta marbuta with a kasratain. Okay, ta marbuta with a kasratain. Now ta marbuta, if you remember, we had talked about this. It's a very special letter, and you'll see why it's special. Okay, so when we are reading ta marbuta with a kasratain, it will be tin. Ba, ra, ra, tin. Ba, ra, ra, tin. So please repeat after me. Ba, ra, ra, tin. Bararatin. Okay, alhamdulillah, very well done. Now, when we're stopping on a ta marbuta, it's actually very special. So that's what makes it special. So just like stopping on two fathas, when we're stopping on a ta marbuta, it actually changes the sound completely. Okay, so when we're stopping, again, we're only interested in the last letter. And what happens is it completely changes to a different letter. It changes to the letter ha with a sukun. Okay, so it no longer stays the sound of the letter ta. It completely morphs into a different letter with a sukun. Okay, so it morphs into a completely different letter altogether, and it takes a sukun. So when you're stopping, you're going to say barara, barara, barara. Please repeat after me. Barara. Okay, well done, alhamdulillah. So now let's look at how this word will sound like if we're continuing and how it will sound like when we're stopping. Bararatin, barara. Okay, excellent. Barakallah fikum. Now let's look at the next word. Okay, alhamdulillah. So this is our next word. Now here you'll see that all of these letters are in their full form. We have Hamza with a fatha, a, Dal with a kasra, the, Noon with a fatha, na, adina, a, the, na, adina. Please repeat after me. A, the, na, adina. Now for the stopping, as always, we're only interested in the last letter. The last letter has a fatha. When we're stopping, it goes away and we get a sukun. So we're going to say, connect the dal with the kasra to the noon with the sukun. Din, adin, adin, adin. Please repeat after me. Adin. Okay, so when we are continuing, we will say adina. Stopping, adin. Okay, well done. Let's go to our next word. Our next word is Hamza with the fatha sitting on an alif. And we will say a. Then we have Mim with the fatha. And here we'll see that we are only looking at the defining feature of the Mim, which is the head. And this will be ma. Then ra with the fatha, ra. All together, a, ma, ra. Amara, amara, amara. Please repeat after me. A, ma, ra. Amara. Okay, very well done. And when you're stopping, you are going to put a sukun on the ra because the fatha will go away. So we're going to connect the mim with the fatha with the ra with the sukun. So you will say amar. Please repeat after me. Amar. Amar. Okay, very well done. So when we're continuing, we're going to say amara. And then when we're stopping, amar. Okay, well done, alhamdulillah. Now let's look at our next word. Next word is jim with the fatha, where we only see the defining feature, which is the head of the jim. Ja. Ain with a fatha. Now ain here actually looks very different when it's coming in the middle. Okay, it's sort of like, looks like a flower almost, like a rose. A, right? Ain with a fatha, a. Lam with a fatha, la. Ja'ala, ja'ala, ja'ala. Now when we are going to read it together, please repeat after me. لا جعل. Now when we are stopping on this word, again looking at the last letter, has a fatha. Fatha will go away. We will get a sukoon in its place, connecting the ayn with the fatha, with the lam with the sukoon. جعل جعل جعل. Please repeat after me. جعل. Now, when we are looking at reading it continuously, in continuing, جعل. And then when we are stopping, جعل. Okay, well done, alhamdulillah. Let's look at our next word, get our next letter. Okay, now let's look at our next letters. Let's look at our next word. Here we have Jim with a fatha. So here we only see the head of the letter Jim. And you can see here, so we have one dot at the bottom. So Jim with a fatha is Ja. Then we have Mim with a fatha. And here we see that it's only the head of the Mim. It will be Ma. And then Ayn with a fatha. So here the Ayn looks slightly different on the top here compared to the full form. So the sound will be A. جماعة جماعة جماعة. Please repeat after me. جماعة جماعة. Now let's look at the stopping for this word. And as I always say, that we are looking at the last letter. When we are stopping, the fatha will go away and ayn will get a sukoon. So when you're stopping, you will say jama', jama'. Please repeat after me. Jama'. So when we're continuing, we'll say jama'a. Stopping, jama'. Okay, well done, alhamdulillah. Here we have ra with a fatha, ra, fa with a fatha, fa. So here we'll see that it's only the head of the letter fa. And then we have ayn with a fatha, a, ra, fa, a, rafa'a, rafa'a. Please repeat after me. Ra, fa, a, rafa'a. Okay, very well done. Now for the stopping, we're looking at the last letter and the ayn with the fatha. The fatha will go away and we will get a sukoon. So the sound will be rafa'. We're connecting the fa with the fatha to the ayn with the sukoon. Rafa'. Please repeat after me. Rafa'. So when we're continuing, we will say rafa'a. Stopping, rafa'. Okay, alhamdulillah. Let's look at the next word. Next word is the letter Dal with a fatha. The. Then we have Kaf with a fatha. Ka. Now here we'll see that the letter Kaf looks very different from what we have learned in the past. So you can see the little symbol, you can kind of expand it, and that's what it looks like here when it's connected to another letter. So Kaf with a fatha, Ka. Ra with a fatha, Ra. The, Ka, Ra. ذكر ذكر. Please repeat after me. ذكر ذكر. Now when we are stopping, we're looking at the last letter. The last letter will get a sukun because the fatha will go away. So we're going to connect the kaf with the fatha, with the ra, with the sukun. ذكر ذكر. So when we are stopping, that's how it will sound like. Please repeat after me. ذكر. Okay, well done. So when we're continuing, we're going to say ذكر and stopping ذكر. Okay, well done. Now inshallah we're going to read all of the words we have done so far, and we're going to look at 3 ways. First, we're going to look at the letters one at a time with their harakats. Then we're going to read it all together in one flow, and then we will look at how to stop on these words. Okay, so please make sure you practice well. أبدا 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 أحد 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 أخذ 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 أذن 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 أمر 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 بخل 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 بررة 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 جعل 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 جمع 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 حسد 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 خشية خشية خشي خلق 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 ذكر 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 رفع رفع رفع. Okay, alhamdulillah, so you did amazing. Inshallah, I will see you with our next part of this module. Barakallahu feekum. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.